right, guys. I think we are live. I got my notes here from the game. A few things I want to talk about in this video as some of you come in. First of all, let me know if you guys want me to actually break down this game and do an analysis. I don't know that many of you care to see an analysis of this game, given how poorly Real Madrid played today. Let's first of all start with the red cards. Obviously, you can't put the blame on Xabi Alonso for the red cards. Real Madrid gets 2 red cards. The first one to Fran Garcia made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. The referee made a lot of questionable decisions in this game. Whether you are a Real Madrid fan or you're not a Real Madrid fan, if you're looking at this game objectively, you look at some of the decisions, the times that Real Madrid was in transitions, the referee called the play back. The one that comes to mind, the one was Alvaro Carreras stretches his arm, catches somebody in the face, and it gets called back. Decisions like that makes you question the referee. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this referee clearly had a vendetta against Real Madrid. The, the number of times that he made decisions that was against Real Madrid, you cannot count them on 2 hands. This was without a doubt. It was so blatantly clear to me. This referee was clearly against Real Madrid. Now, I don't know what this guy's background is, but I'm going to be looking into him. I'm curious to know who this referee is. I don't really know much about this ref. I haven't seen him referee a lot of the games in La Liga, but let's look into him. I'm curious to know what his background is. I'm curious to know potentially what clubs he supports, whether he grew up in Barcelona, whether he's a Catalan. These are all things I'm just asking questions about. I don't know the answers. I'm just saying these are things that I'm curious that I want to know more about. And I'm seeing some of you in the comment section. Yes, today Real Madrid was bad. Real Madrid, when the red card to when Fran Garcia gets that red card, Real Madrid steps up and they start playing some real football. And had they played like that from the beginning, then we would have never been down to 10 men. We never would have gone down in that match to begin with. So we wouldn't have had a mountain to climb. After Real Madrid goes down to 10 men, you see what they're capable of. Real Madrid, when they actually want to play football, we saw what they did at San Mamés, one of the most challenging stadiums in Spain. And then we go put out a performance like this. In the first half, we were dead. There was absolutely no creativity, nothing happening. Before the game, if you asked me, I would have told you it's likely today. If I was a betting man, I would have put my money on Kylian Mbappe scoring a goal. I would have put my money on Real Madrid. Real Madrid had going into this match an 11-game win streak against Celta Vigo. This was supposed to be a foregone conclusion. They're a team that travels away from home pretty good. They were pressing the ball high up the pitch, but there's absolutely no excuse for this. There's zero excuse. But let's look at this objectively. First of all, I have to talk about the fact that Real Madrid now has another injury to Eder Militao. Now, I saw something on Instagram. I don't know how reliable it is about his season potentially being over, that it's a severe hamstring injury. And let's wait and see what the actual verdict is. I don't want to spread misinformation. I'm waiting for the actual information to come out that's reliable, because I saw him towards the end of the game. He was standing next to Dani Carvajal. Obviously, the injury of Eder Militao is a huge blow to Real Madrid. He's been our best defender this season, especially from a consistency perspective. He's been the most consistent player. Now, and then we have to talk about the fact that the moment that Alvaro Carreras goes into left back and Fran Garcia is given the red card, you just see the huge improvement Real Madrid makes offensively, defensively from the left back position when Carreras goes to left back. The fact that Carreras was playing at center back, you had such a huge loss to him not playing in his preferred position. That was a huge letdown for Real Madrid. So when Xabi Alonso arrived at Real Madrid, he said he wanted to end the injury crisis at Real Madrid. That was one of the biggest mandates he said he had at Real Madrid, was to end the injury crisis. But I can't help but notice that the injury crisis is not improving whatsoever. I'm seeing the 2 summer signings that Real Madrid made over the summer, Dean Howson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, sitting in the stands. Real Madrid splashed a lot of money for both players, and both players are sitting there injured in the stands. And then you got Eder Militao, who's injured as well, going off injured. Then you had Rudiger coming on, who is coming from injury. And then you had the number of injuries that we have. Eduardo Camavinga out injured. And it's like muscle injuries. These are injuries that Real Madrid has struggled with consistently for the last few seasons. People were blaming Antonio Pintus and saying it was an Antonio Pintus issue. When Carlo Ancelotti was our manager, we said, "What is Carlo doing? He's not rotating the squad." Xabi Alonso comes to Real Madrid, and it's the same thing with the injuries. Why is Eder Militao pulling his hamstring in that position? Like, I understand things happen, but you cannot have a situation where it's muscular injuries like this on a consistent basis. Trent Alexander-Arnold, long ball, he has a muscular injury to his thigh. You've got Antonio Rudiger, obviously, who's coming back from injuries last season. We don't even know what kind of physical condition he's in. David Alaba, I don't even, sometimes I even forget that David Alaba is still a Real Madrid player. That's how long it's been since I've seen David Alaba on the pitch. This is absolute madness that a football club like Real Madrid, the biggest footballing club in the world, continues to have this problem on a consistent basis. I understand the physical demands of the Premier League, for example. We don't have those same physical demands in La Liga. La Liga does not demand as much physically in terms of the 1v1 duels, the physicality of the games. I'm not saying it's not physical in the same sense of, obviously these are professionals playing at the highest levels, but it's a consistent theme at Real Madrid. Xabi Alonso came to Real Madrid with his own staff. Ismael Lopez is his head of fitness, and he brought in a whole different team that he brought with him from Bayer Leverkusen. So again, this is something that Real Madrid needs to look at. And the other thing that Real Madrid needs to look at is, again, today you look at Real Madrid and it's so apparent to me that there is a lack of quality within this side, that Real Madrid still needs another transfer window. Real Madrid obviously now needs, in the winter transfer window, which again, we have to put our egos aside. I know Real Madrid has a strategy. They typically do not recruit players in the winter. They don't like to do that. They like to go in the summer for the players that they really want. But the truth of the matter is, you need to do something in the winter to sign somebody to at least put some of your players in the right positions where they belong. We can't have Fede playing right back. We need Fede playing in the midfield. You need to also reevaluate the right back position over the summer as well. You need to be signing somebody who you can consistently rely on game in, game out, who can play at least 40, 50 games a season for you. So these are the things that Real Madrid needs to think about. We obviously are not in the market for Konate anymore. Real Madrid needs another center back they can really rely upon. And thanks for this super chat, SBS. I appreciate it. So I didn't see a question in there, but feel free to put a question if you want me to mention anything. But a few things I want to talk about here from my notes. The first thing is, I already spoke about the Eder Militao injury, the number of injuries Real Madrid has had, the red cards, the fact that Real Madrid started to actually play football when the red card happens. You saw what Real Madrid was capable of after they got the red card. If we played like that from the beginning, then Real Madrid would have never went down. I mean, I see the super chat about, I'm glad Real Madrid paid the refs. I know that's sarcasm to say Real Madrid doesn't pay the refs, and that's a clear example today of how Real Madrid is potentially being targeted by La Liga, by this Javier Tebas, who's saying he was a Real Madrid supporter since he was a child. Again, last season, the number of decisions that went against Real Madrid, what comes to mind, the game against Osasuna, where Jude Bellingham says "fuck off" to the ref, and he puts in his match report that Jude Bellingham said "fuck you" to me. Clearly, Jude Bellingham never said that to him, and he gives him a red card. So again, João Martinez was on the bench today. I don't know. It clearly didn't make sense to play him, but you know who potentially should have been played throughout this entire season so he can get more match rhythm is a player like Rodrigo, who actually was a bright spot in this game. Then he has hardly played under Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso has made a lot of decisions himself. He's put his neck on the line to implement his philosophy, to play the players that he believes in, and he has to take responsibility for it. Today, we saw Arda Güler play in a deeper zone. We saw Jude Bellingham play at the 8. He wasn't playing in a very advanced role. He struggles in the build-up play. Real Madrid needs the type of profile player who's going to initiate the ball progression from the back, who's going to be reliable in building the ball, building up play from the back. Today we saw Vinicius in the first half play in this free roll position where he was drifting sometimes out to the right hand side. He was shifting into the middle. He was hardly getting on the ball. Real Madrid was not controlling it. They didn't have Vinicius to find until he moves to the left hand side in the second half. But in the first half, he was playing this free roll, and it clearly didn't work because whenever Real Madrid was in possession, they tried to find him, whether it was Vinicius killing Mbappe, because it was Mbappe drifting out to the left more than Vinicius. There wasn't necessarily a player to find. And that's the thing. A lot of the times with our players this season, what we're seeing is when we're in possession, we had the ball in our feet. We're struggling to find the right players to find between the lines. There's a lack of cohesion in this team. It's like a lot of these players are playing together for the very first time. And if you think about the fact that the team that played at San Mamés, look at the number of changes there were. There was Rudiger, there was Trent, there was Eduardo Camavinga. These three players came off, and this is part of the issues. Real Madrid does not consistently play with the same 11 because of all the injuries that they sustain to their players. So how is it that you're going to win any sort of titles if you can't have any sense of continuity in your team? This is the problem that Real Madrid has. There's absolutely no continuity. It's every single time, every week you go check the lineup, there's a new 2-3 faces in the lineup. And it's by necessity. You got Fran Garcia playing a left back. Fran Garcia he's not a Real Madrid quality left back. He's just not. Fran Garcia is not good enough to play for Real Madrid, and that's just a fact. The moment Carreras goes at left back, you just saw the huge improvement Real Madrid had. At least Carreras can carry the ball. You can rely on him. He provides you something. I understand you're playing Fran Garcia in a game at home thinking you're going to smash a team like Celta Vigo because you haven't lost to them in your last 11. The last 11 times Real Madrid faced Celta Vigo, they won. When Xabi Alonso came to Real Madrid, I thought he was going to break records, but I didn't think these were the kind of records he was going to be breaking. The truth of the matter is it was just not good enough. Yeah, okay. Regarding this super chat about the egos, I completely agree that there's an ego problem at Real Madrid. I completely agree that there's an ego problem at Real Madrid. These players need to start. There needs to be a situation where the manager is respected, and when he puts his foot down and he tells the players to do things, they do it. And if they don't, they sit on the bench. And I'm talking about the big stars, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius, Mbappe. I'm not saying these guys didn't make an effort today. Vinicius fought. Jude Bellingham did. Kylian Mbappe. You can't really fault them for the effort today. I'm not saying that they should be blamed for this. But what I'm saying is, when players are not doing exactly what Xabi Alonso wants them to do, or whomever is the manager, because honestly, this defeat really, now we're 4 points behind Barca on the table. We take a loss to Manchester City. Xabi Alonso is not going to be in a very good position in terms of his job at Real Madrid. Because again, let's take the example of Gonzalo Garcia. Wins the Golden Boot at the Club World Cup. And then he gets on today. First of all, he wasn't even playing as a striker. He was playing as this like right midfielder role. He found himself in the box on that one opportunity, which, by the way, he should have done better. He should have done better. He should have at least put that on target. He puts it wide. That could have been the equalizer for Real Madrid. But he's a player that he has hardly had any minutes since the Club World Cup. He's coming on when Real Madrid desperately needs a goal, and he's coming up with chances. He's getting himself in the right zones, but again, he needs a little bit more time. Endrick, I keep forgetting that Endrick is a Real Madrid player. Is he healthy? I keep seeing things about Franco Mastantuono that he's healthy and he's ready to start playing football games. Where's Franco Mastantuono? Where is this guy? Is he going to actually play any minutes? I genuinely don't understand some of the decisions. The other day, when the 89th minute, we start to see substitutions, Xabi Alonso brings on Gonzalo Garcia and Alvaro Carreras when we needed to win, when we needed goals. In the 89th minute, those are the kinds of things that we're seeing from Xabi Alonso where he needs to take responsibility for them. So again, But today, if there's a player I have to highlight who played really well, I have to say that Chouameni today, the number of passes I saw Chouameni put in, he should have had 2, 3 assists today, Chouameni. He was one of the few bright spots Real Madrid had in this game. Chouameni, again, from a consistency perspective, he's been consistent, and the number of passes he put on a dime into the box that should have been finished. I remember there was one where he put over the top. Vinicius is one-on-one with the keeper. He should have taken it on his left foot, but he takes it on his right. Why does Vinicius do that? Potentially because Vinicius is on low confidence. And why is Vinicius on low confidence? Again, I go back to this because he was our previous manager. But when Carlo Ancelotti came to Real Madrid, he sat down with Karim Benzema. Benzema said this right after he won the Ballon d'Or, and he said to Karim, "I think you can win the Ballon d'Or. I think you can be a player who scores 50, 60 goals this season." And then obviously that season, Benzema ended up having the most amount of goals he's ever had in his career. The man management there, you cannot question. But then when you look at the fact that a lot of our players are underperforming other than Kylian Mbappe, you have to look at the manager and say, well, why is it some of these players' levels are going down? Players like Fede Valverde. When's the last time Fede scored a goal? The number of he had 2-3 shots today outside the box. Two of them, I believe, were on target. Two of them were on target, but the rest were off target. I remember when Fede Valverde, Carlo Ancelotti told him, if you don't score at least 15 goals this season, I'm going to turn in my badges. I don't deserve to coach anymore. So those kinds of statements, when your manager believes in you, and when there's that sense of calm and tranquility and confidence that exudes to the players, it shows when sometimes you lack structure, you lack what Real Madrid has needed over the last few seasons, which is an actual structure within the team. Now we have structure, but we don't have the confidence within each individual player. The players are a shell of themselves. They are playing with a sense of a lack of confidence. And that's so evident. I'm just seeing some of these players, they're not themselves. Look at Dean Howson. Dean Howson was a player that was pursued by every single football club out there. Liverpool tried to sign him, Manchester City tried to sign him. He only had eyes for Real Madrid. He comes to Real Madrid and his performances start to plummet, and he's just not been playing well. Fede Valverde, we know what kind of player Fede is. This season, he has had one of his worst seasons. On a consistent basis, he has not been playing well. Let's look at some of these players, these individual performances, and question why Real Madrid has had such bad performances by some of these players. So, but yeah, from a Zidane perspective, I think Real Madrid needs somebody in that locker room that the players look at and respect and will do what the manager says. Clearly, Zinedine Zidane was that guy that the players looked at and respected, and they didn't question the things that he said, because let's remember that when Zizou was the manager, the amount of squad rotation we had, he rotated the goalkeepers. He rotated the goalkeepers, and nobody said anything to Zizou, because who would say something to Zinedine Zidane? But the truth of the matter is, I'm trying not to overreact, because Real Madrid can still go on to win La Liga this season. Real Madrid can still go on to win the Champions League this season. It's not all done and dusted, but the signs are not positive. And that's the thing. It's not just about being a great tactical manager to manage a club like Real Madrid. You need to have the respect of the players in the locker room. You're talking about, yes, there are some huge egos, which some of these players need to work with Xabi Alonso. I'm sure many of you have saw that sign that was outside of Valdebebas that one of the fans created, and he held it outside the stadium that said, "Players, please work with Xabi Alonso." And I echo that message, that these players need to stop giving Xabi Alonso such a hard time and start working with him and start doing the things that he's asking them to do. Give him the time and the respect that he deserves so that he can be successful at this football club. I'm not in favor of Xabi Alonso being sacked as the manager at all. I'm not saying he should be sacked. I'm saying he should be empowered even more to get the things that he needs to be successful. But we also need to be honest about some of the players that we have in our team, because players like Fran Garcia are simply not good enough. You need a player at the 8, at the pivot, to play alongside a guy like Chouameni, who can control, dictate the play, who can play as a creative playmaker as well. That is so clear that is one of the pieces that's missing in this team. And you clearly need to make some decisions around what you're going to do with the staff behind the scenes, because the number of injuries Real Madrid is sustaining is very alarming. There is clearly a pattern that's going on with Real Madrid with injuries, and especially injuries to defenders. I don't know what's going on with the training with the defenders, but clearly they're going onto the pitch not in not physically prepared to take on what the match state requires, because every time they seem to get on the pitch, something seems to go wrong with some of these muscle injuries. And so I'm not convinced this is all a Xabi Alonso problem, but some of these players, the lack of confidence that they have, players like Rodrigo, the reason why he has this 31 game no goal streak is because his confidence is shot. Imagine he's coming into this team, he has a new manager, he thinks Xabi Alonso is going to be the guy to get him back on track, and he's not even seeing the pitch. He's being dropped to a 17-year-old Argentinian kid, and even when the Argentinian kid gets injured himself, Rodrigo still can't get any sort of minutes on the field as well. And his manager is saying publicly that he can play in that position. It's one thing if the manager says it's a position that's occupied by Vinny or Kylian Mbappe, but there's a clear message by Xabi Alonso that Rodrigo can play the right wing position. It's due to tactical decisions. What do you think that's going to do for his confidence? What do you think it's going to do for Vinicius's confidence that every single time you keep substituting him? The Classico, 75th minute, you take him off. He sees that as a public humiliation. That affected his confidence. And then today he gets a one-on-one. He takes it on his right foot rather than being fully confident taking it on his left. I'm trying to draw conclusions between these different things, because the way you manage these players and the team and the egos in this team, you can build these players up and build up their confidence so that when they get these opportunities, they actually convert them. But even players like Gonzalo Garcia, the very few chances he's gotten, he hasn't converted them. Sometimes it's on the player, sometimes it's a confidence thing, sometimes it's a mismanagement of the players thing. So you have to put this down to Xabi Alonso as well. He absolutely deserves some of the blame. But he didn't all of a sudden become a bad manager when he came to Real Madrid. This is a guy who went undefeated at Bayer Leverkusen. This is a guy who's successfully managed Real Sociedad B. This is a guy who had experience being managed by Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, by some of the best managers in the world. And he can go on to have an illustrious career, win the Champions League. But if Real Madrid is going to not give him the tools and the resources that he needs to be successful, then this is what you're going to end up having. Today, you saw Celta Vigo press Real Madrid very high up the pitch. And so Real Madrid struggled to find those options out of the back. And then he played Vinicius in this free roll position. So there was not necessarily a set player on the left-hand side. I remember a few times Eder Militao in the first half would get the ball. He would look to make that big switch to the left-hand side, and he would look up. There was nobody there. So when you have things like this, when you don't have consistency and continuity, a lot of the players are getting the ball. They have the ball at their feet, and they're constantly looking up to see where their teammates are, because it's not fluid. It's clearly not a fluid team where everybody knows where they are in possession and out of possession. In possession, Real Madrid is sometimes trying to find the solutions. A few times you saw the ball being cycled out to the wing because there was a lot of sideways passes. There was nobody in the box. And then when Gonzalo Garcia does come onto the pitch at the very end, when Real Madrid, is down to 10 men, needs a goal, he's not even playing as a center striker. He's playing in this like right attacking mid role, not even as a right winger because Rodrigo is playing there. So again, no box presence, and you have some big decisions to make. I don't know. I think in the summertime, if Real Madrid is adamant on keeping this squad and not reinforcing it with a single additional player in this winter transfer window, then when comes summertime, you have to make a big decision about one of your midfielders. Fede Valverde, Camavinga, Chouameni, Jude Bellingham, Arda Güler, either one or two of those players that I mentioned needs to leave the football club. And you need to bring on different profile players. Clearly a creative player, a box-to-box player as well. And whoever you bring in, they also need to be players that don't have consistent string of injuries. Because this is what's This is plaguing Real Madrid, the number of injuries. You need a right back who can consistently show up for you, who can play at least 50 games a season. You need a center back who you can rely on, who because if it's true about Eder Militao that he has a season-ending injury, then you have to think about who's next in terms of your center back you can rely on. There's so many question marks. The people behind the scenes at Real Madrid at the board also need to take some responsibility. So if there's no other things in the chat, I'm gonna start to wrap this up. And also let me know in the chat. Do you? I don't think I'll do a tactical breakdown for this. I'm gonna do a preview to the game against Manchester City. I think that's gonna be my next video. I'm gonna work on. I think Manchester City at Real Madrid, we could beat them because a lot of our players we know they show up for the big matches, but it's games like this where they don't show up. Unfortunately, bring back Varane, Casemiro. I could not agree more. Man, as a Madridista, you can't help but look back to those days where Real Madrid had some of the best football players in every single position, and that's just simply not the case anymore. We have no players to show up. I agree. Sell Fede. Look, I'm not in favor of selling Fede, but we have to say that Fede has been pretty poor for a while now. This season, I'm trying to. Fede has had a lot of really bad performances this season. And we know how good of a player Fede is. He still has the physical abilities. He didn't lose that, but in terms of his individual performances, Fede has not been good this season. I'll tell you who has been good. Camavinga's been good when he's been playing. Chouameni's been good. Jude Bellingham has been on and off. He had again because at times he's playing different positions. Jude Bellingham has not been consistent, but Fede Valverde this season has not been that good. I think we need to let a lot of these players go. The thing is, if you look at a lot of the players that Real Madrid has, there's no question that these are some of the best players in the world individually. But as a collective, it just doesn't work out. And you do need to make some big decisions in the summer for sure. So I don't know what the right answer is. But in a game like today, to one of the comments about the back five, I think we'll see the back five against Manchester City. But the back five against a team like Celta Vigo, there's no surprise why he didn't go with a back five against Celta Vigo. I mean, why would you? We saw him do it at Sal Mames against Atleti, and he successfully did that against Atleti, and we soundly beat them. We played in transition, and in transition, Real Madrid is a deadly team with Vinny and Mbappe. But in a game like today, you'd think the lineup that we put forth today should have been enough to beat a team like Celta Vigo. It's not been good enough. And the players don't seem to be responding to what Xabi Alonso is saying. Sometimes it's simply that. It's a disconnect between the players and the manager. Whoever was going to come in after Carlo Ancelotti was always going to have a hard time managing the egos and the players and the personnel within this locker room. And that's why the board really needs to make a big decision because either they back the manager, make some big decisions and really empower him and give him what he needs to be successful, or they start looking at another manager and they start to embolden these players even more. And regardless, it's clear Real Madrid needs 1, 2, 3 more big signings in another transfer window because this team is not ready. It's not ready. Do I think we can beat Manchester City on Wednesday? Yes. But do us winning the Champions League this season? I don't think we're not up there with the Bayerns, with the Arsenals, with the elite sides of Europe. I don't think we're up there. So I think that's what I got for this one. Unless there's any last things in the chat here, I'm gonna call it. Just let me know if you guys want to put anything in the chat. I'll cover it right before I. So the Sergio Ramos thing, I'm not against bringing Sergio Ramos to Real Madrid simply at the fact that a guy like Sergio Ramos at Real Madrid brings something that Real Madrid is clearly lacking right now, which is leadership. A guy like Sergio Ramos would hold a lot of these players accountable. Is he past his best? Yes, he is. But sometimes it's just about having people like that in that environment so that you have the right attitude and mentality in this team. Because let's be honest, we don't really have many true leaders in this team. You have Thibaut Courtois, who I think is a leader, and he's captain material. You have people like Antonio Rudiger, who is also very vocal. Fede is not really a captain. Is he a great player? Is he beloved? Do I love Fede Valverde? I have his jersey. I'm a huge fan of Fede Valverde, but he's not really a captain. So I think that profile within this locker room would do a lot of good. Th- So yeah, I mean, that's all I got for this one, guys. Yeah, I mean, look, there's some accountability that needs to take place. There needs to be some accountability. It was not good enough today. And we all know Real Madrid should not be dropping points to a team like Celta Vigo. You beat them 11 times in a row. I don't care who's on the pitch today. If you put out the fucking Castilla team, you should not be dropping points to Celta Vigo. It's not good enough. Anyways, that's all I got for this one, guys. Very frustrating.